Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Talking God and Politics with Mark, Mike, and my beautiful wife, Denise. Mark, great day today.
Oh, man, it's going to be a good night tonight. No doubt about it. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, great seeing you. What we thought we would do, folks, is just kind of play a little bit of Trump's live speech right now. We're not sure how long we're going to go through this, and then start our show and kind of maybe piggyback off of some of the things he's saying. So let's do that. Did it come up? There we go.
World, let's see what happens. Because we're not finished yet. We're not finished yet. We got a long way to go. But we're doing this on the very first day in office, and in just a few moments, I'm not only signing the release of the J6 hostages, I'm signing other things that you're going to love. Oh, you're going to be happy reading newspapers tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. So I just want to thank, look at this place. It's full to the rafters. You don't have any. Look at those people up there. You don't have any empty seats. And by the way, the Capital One owners, they are so good. We got to root for their teams because they have been so great to MAGA, to us. And I just want to thank Ted and everybody. You guys have been fantastic. And the ice hockey team's doing great. Ovechkin's pretty good, right?
A tangent. I just love these tangents.
I want to thank them, Capital One arena owners. They have been absolutely
Capital
fantastic.
One, the debt slavers.
And thank you once again to everyone. And I can only tell you, you're going to be very happy. You're going to watch a lot of good things happen. We got to stop some wars that are happening and going on. Some stupid things are happening. The war with Ukraine would have never happened, and it has. As you know, Israel would have never been hit on October 7th, and none of you would be up here. None of you would even know anything about this tragedy that you're going through right now. But Iran was broke. Anybody that bought oil from Iran, they couldn't do any business with us. You're not going to do business with America. China passed, everybody passed, they were broke. They didn't have money for Hamas, they didn't have money for Hezbollah. And your sons would be alive, and they certainly wouldn't be incarcerated like they are. It's a shame, but we're getting a lot of people out in a short period of time. So I'm going to go right over to here, and I'm going to sign in front of you. Is that okay? Good.
Is he signing? Oh, he's signing for the release of the hostages?
Mm-hmm. I just realized I've been muted for the whole time. Okay.
We can hear you.
Now, what is he about to sign, and who is this up here?
The hostage, families of the hostage.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Okay.
And
I don't know what he's going to sign.
I think he's going to sign at least for the January 6th.
Yes.
Hostages.
All of them, right?
I think so.
I think like 99.9%.
Yes. And I think it took so long because it will not be a blanket pardon. I was reading something about blanket pardons. I think it's going to be very specific with very specific language for each person.
Okay.
I think.
Well, this is the first thing we see of his honesty. He said he would do this on his first day right here, and he's doing it. That he would sign these executive orders to do this, which I don't agree with executive orders, but that's a different.
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy around executive orders.
Oh, man.
Constitutionality of them, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Biden-era executive actions.
Well, the problem is when Biden and the enemy does them, it's almost as if in order to fight back, you have to.
Yeah,
which is a horrible cycle if you think about it.
Absolutely. And I was actually saying that today to someone. I said, he's going to do all these executive orders, but he kind of has to. They've just kind of built and built and built over the years.
Issuing any more regulations until we have full control of this, the government and this administration.
When Ron Paul ran in 2012, that was the one thing he said. The first thing he said is, if I'm elected the first day in office, I get rid of all executive orders.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Sir. The next item, sir, is a freeze on all federal hiring, excepting the military and a number of other excluded categories.
Hey, that's a good start.
Control of the government is achieved, and we understand
Amen.
government going forward.
Freeze on all hiring. Nice. Did you catch his right before we got on? He was talking about the IRS, that he was going to put the 88,000 that they hired, which I don't think they did.
Could you imagine Biden doing this? I don't think so.
That he was going to put them to work in the take them out of the IRS and put them to work at the border.
Sir, the next
That'd
item,
be
as
good.
you announced in your speech, is a requirement that federal workers return to full-time in-person work.
There you go.
They have to go to work like everyone else, I guess.
Yeah, there and I was looking at it yesterday. There's 95,000 people that work at the IRS currently.
Thank you, sir.
Wow.
Wow.
Next, we have a directive
5,000
to every
people.
department and agency in the federal government
And they're
to address
armed.
the cost of living crisis that has cost Americans so dearly.
What is this now?
Yeah, I missed it. We got to get our chat going so they can fill us in.
Thank you, sir. The next item here is the withdrawal from the Paris Climate Treaty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
The climate hoax.
Yep. I love it. He said, man, he's getting rid of all the windmills out in the ocean and all of that. He said they're useless.
Then our whales will finally stop dying again.
Right. Exactly.
The sad thing is getting rid of those things is more of a hazard to the environment than
Exactly.
anything.
Yeah, you're right.
And the next item, sir, is a letter that will be transmitted to the United Nations explaining that we are withdrawing from the Paris Climate Treaty.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's good.
I love it that he's doing this in front of everybody. It's great.
This next item is a directive to the federal government ordering the restoration of freedom of speech and preventing government censorship of free speech.
Well, we're going to talk about that. I want to talk about TikTok. So,
yeah, I've got a couple of things.
I think
as well.
the verdict is out on this one a little bit.
Hey, by the way, this is what I'm drinking
lastly,
tonight.
Sir, before we go back to
See
the
if I can
Oval
get this
Office
right.
and sign a large number of other items, is a directive to the federal government ending the weaponization of government against the political adversaries of the previous administration, as we've seen.
Wow. Looks like that's the last one for tonight.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. Well, for this,
Appreciate
arena,
Right.
he's going to go back.
Yeah. Nice.
I want one of those.
Yeah, that would be.
Oh, that's
that would be
awesome.
he has so much fun doing this shit.
Yeah, he does, man. No doubt. It's gonna be a good 4 years, I hope. We're not gonna get everything we want. I never do. It's government, but
Right.
we make a dent. We chip away. That's all you can ask for.
All right. Well, let's piggyback off of that a little bit on the free speech issue. So TikTok, I'm not so sure that China is the country or the bad people behind TikTok. From some of the
So it
research-
was, and let me say this. So my kids, let me in on it. It was Saturday night. TikTok went down.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter was like, "Okay, TikTok's gone." My son was like, "Okay, it's over. It's turned off." And I went, "Wow, okay." Because technically, I don't think they had to go dark until Sunday. Anyway, so it was Saturday night. They went dark, and then what was it? I think it was after church. We came back. We were eating lunch yesterday, and I noticed on TikTok, on X, everybody was saying, "Hey, Twitter," or sorry, TikTok is back. And I was like, "Is this a joke?" And no, it wasn't. My kids, both my daughter and my son, were like, "Oh no, it's back, it's back." So anyway, I just wanted to set that context before we go in.
Well, the software Oracle is owned by a really powerful Jewish Talmudist individual. And our concern is, yeah, TikTok is going to come back, but the algorithms are going to change to where you can't criticize Israel, because that was really the issue. And we have some clips, but they're way too long. They're like 7 or 8 minutes where a guy goes all the way through it. I mean, it's actually really good. I don't know if you guys want to listen to 7 minutes.
Actually, Ian Carroll touched on it as well.
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
He put up some talk about how many times he goes, the real reason it was pulled. And he put how many times, the Palestinians were posted, and it was like 550 million times.
Versus Israel's 2 million.
Yeah, right. And do the Chinese really care about that? It was very well done.
Yeah. So our concern is that they're gonna rework their algorithm, come back to where you can't really criticize Israel and what they're doing over there. Now, Trump will probably put a stop to the war, but we know that he is he's not free speech when it comes to Israel. He's just not. I mean, none of these Zionist Republicans are, because they're the ones that passed, the Anti-Semitic Awareness Act. And so that we have to call them the way we see them, folks.
Yep.
There's a lot of good things happening today, but this is the big one. This is the big problem. And we're still waiting to see on Trump. There's some people that have already made their mind on Trump. Yeah. I love Stu Peters. I watch him as much as I possibly can. And I have a really good feeling about him. I trust him. But I'm not fully 100% where he is on Trump. I want to be fluid. I don't want to have a hard, fast position that I have to feel like I have to defend constantly. And right now I'm about the saying I always use is Trump using that philosophy of keep your friends close, but keep your enemies closer. In other words, he realizes that the power structure is so Israel. He can't do anything about it right now. Right. And so what anyone would do in that case, if you're a pragmatist, especially as he is, you would just kind of pretend you're going with the flow until you had the power and you could make the moves to do something about it. I hope that's the case. That's what I want to take place. That's what I want to believe. And then the other position is, Stu Peters and a lot of these other guys is that, because Trump took loans from the Rothschilds and he gets all this, campaign money from Israel, and he has a rabbi that he gets counsel from, blah, 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 that he's in on it. Like he's 100% running us into Agenda 2030 and the global. I just don't see that. I agree. I take a middle position that, just like his first term, he admitted he surrounded himself with people he shouldn't have. He was influenced in ways he shouldn't have been. And I think with this whole Zionism thing, I'm not really sure how much of the Talmud he knows. I don't even know how much of the Bible he knows. And I think he thinks that being a strong American, just like these evangelicals, that you have to support Israel. So it very well could be that Trump is just gullible, and just like 90% of these evangelicals are.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I am until I see evidence, till I see more evidence that shows me otherwise. That's just where I have to be.
Yeah. And you know, wherever he lands at the end of the 4 years and what happens there, I think X has done a decent job. Look, Stu Peters, I understand they pulled his blue check mark and some others, but I think Ian Carroll is doing he's putting the information out there. And I think at the end of the day, I think people are gravitating to that because it is true. And regardless of what the government does, I think people are going to slowly come to the realization of the truth. I mean, look, even in, I had a Bible class yesterday, and I wasn't teaching, but one of a friend of mine was, and he kept saying, our brothers and sisters over in Israel. And I finally had to stop him. And I said, well, he had actually, I didn't stop him. He asked a question. He's like, I don't really know what Orthodox Jews believe. And so I said, well, here's what they believe. And I said, oh, by the way, we've got to stop calling them our brothers and sisters. They're not.
Right.
And, the whole class kind of went silent, and it gave me a chance to kind of explain that a little bit.
That is scary that you have to explain that.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. But, and he said, well, I was trying to be nice. And after it was over, I talked to him and I said, well, here, I've got a couple of books. I've got a friend of mine, Mike Sullivan's done a great job in explaining this, and I said, I'll get it to you next week. But that's what I think you have to do. And I think that's what even, I don't know if Ian Carroll's a believer or not, but he sees the truth, and he's putting it out there. And that's what we all have to do. Even in our church circles, we have to stand up for the truth, and we have to say it. We do it in the right way. I think my wife was there, and I said, well, did I do okay? And she said, yeah, you were fine. Cause usually I'm not the pit bull you are, but sometimes my aggressiveness kind of takes over, but she said I did okay. So, but that's what we have to do. I think we all have that responsibility to do it.
And I think we'll see. I mean, if Trump is willing to repost things about Benjamin Netanyahu that are not favorable. And
Like what?
Remember last week when he reposted and we showed that he reposted?
Yes.
Benjamin Netanyahu, and I think it was what?
Yeah, that was criticizing him.
Yes. And then if he is going to release and declassify everything related to Kennedy's assassination, we are going to see the CIA, Mossad arm in all of this. And I think,
let's hope so. We get that.
I hope that he follows through with that, because that to me is very telling, and that he knows what true Israel is really all about.
Yeah.
And maybe he is being swayed some by the Zionists that he surrounds himself with. Yeah. But at the end of the day, he knows who's trying to pull the purse strings of the entire world.
And real quick, just because Trump took money from Zionists doesn't mean anything, because Kennedy also took campaign money from Israel. And, they would say, well, he double crossed him. But, if someone wanted to give me a couple $1 million, I would take it. As long as there's nothing in writing that says I have to do X, Y, and Z. If you give me $2 million, I mean, Scripture says that the righteous will plunder the wicked. Right. I mean, or the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous. Yeah. So, you know what I mean? If there's not a contract that says I have to do this to get this money, if you want to give me the money, fine. Don't think that I'm a sucker like everyone else is and is going to do exactly what you want to do. Right. So that it to me, again, is not evidence that he is 100% sold out, a globalist, patsy.
And I think Stu Peters went on a rant. We were just listening just a few minutes ago, went on a rant that Trump in his inaugural speech didn't mention the direct energy weapons and
In
the
North
15-minute cities and all of this stuff. And there's a time and place for everything. And I don't think you have to beat people over the head, especially those who have no idea what you're talking about.
And the problem is if he did that, and he doesn't have the receipts for it yet. Like he doesn't have all the evidence that it was direct energy, and he isn't confident that he'd be able to prosecute that case. That's not something that you bring up right away, because then the media spins it. You're a conspiracy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you can. And most of his the people that believe in him, they don't understand that. They don't really buy into it. Most of them, if you said that, like I mentioned it to a couple of people of, in Maui, they painted their roofs blue, and they were like, why? And then I began explaining why, and it just blew their mind. He's not going to do that, just as much as I want him to be a libertarian, it's just not going to happen. And Denise, I think you're right. I think you've got to slow step into this, whether he believes that or not. He's as a president, you cannot do that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And with the vaccines, that's another thing that I was very angry at Trump about. I was writing articles. I mean, every step of that whole thing, I was so angry at Trump. And then you kind of see how maybe they had something over on him, and he was deceived, and he was just being a pragmatist, because I think what he thought is if he didn't ruffle anyone's feathers, he was a shoo-in to get reelected. And I think that he didn't want to have any problems with Fauci. And I think that was a weakness of his. That really came back to bite him in the butt, is my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. And I think he realizes it too. I think, kind of seeing him coming into a second term with the whole drain the swamp thing, it's totally different. I think he understands more of how to play the game. He understands who to trust, who not to trust. Whereas before
to follow up my thought, but him putting Kennedy in charge. Now, see, Trump doesn't come out and he doesn't apologize. That's not his style.
His ego won't let him do that.
Yeah, his ego won't let him do that. But for me, a real leader, especially a godly leader, would apologize. But it may be because all this has to be litigated, right? I mean, that's why, and we'll talk about this next, are the pardons, right? They gave Fauci a pardon. Well, why? Because he's a depopulationist, nut job, and the whole Democratic Party was in on that. And so he can't really come out and apologize or really get into that stuff, because this stuff has to be litigated, because your comments will be used against you.
Right.
No matter what you say on that. So,
I don't know. It was interesting to Bill Clinton. I don't know what his legal fees were. But Trump, man, he's got to have hold the record on legal fees, man.
But he's suing these networks, getting some of it back.
Oh, absolutely. But I think that's a good transition. We'll go there. But real quick, I didn't know. I just wanted to share one thing with Ian Carroll about TikTok, just to make sure people understood what was going on. It is back.
Yeah.
But why it went away, I think, was more interesting. I keep forgetting it's present. There it is. Okay. So right here, he says, can you see it?
You gotta pop it up. You gotta click it. Click in the middle of it to bring it up.
Oh, hang on. Thought I just did that. Let's try that again.
Mark, you're the tech guy.
I know, and I clicked it. There it is. Share. Do you not see it?
I do not see
it. It even says stop sharing. It says it's sharing.
Oh, I see. Oh, maybe I have to do it from my end. Let's try that. There we go.
Okay, got it. Right here. Well, and here's the thing, and I like Tim Pool, but he starts this whole China rant thing, and he says TikTok had nothing to do with China. All of its data centers were in Texas. If you had been on TikTok, you would have seen that the censorship was CIA and Mossad oriented, not CCP. And he posted a video about the Tiananmen Square, posted about Epstein, and we're falling for government propaganda by patriating China fears. And that is a fact. That is exactly what's happening now. And I think he was, Carol was also the one that shared that statistic about how many times, you know, that they posted about Palestine and things, but I think he was dead on.
Yeah. All right. So let's, this is a great video. Let me pull this up. This is on the pardons. It's right here, right?
Yes, it's right there. So this is the media spin on preemptive pardons back during Trump's first administration.
Who was innocent of all crime.
When they thought Trump was going to do all the pardons.
Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person.
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family.
Is there an innocent explanation for someone to seek preemptive pardons for family members? Would you do that if you knew you were innocent and just worried about outside forces?
The answer to that is going to be no. If you haven't done anything wrong, you sit there and go, what do you need a preemptive pardon for?
If he pardons people preemptively, he's essentially telling the public that these people have committed crimes.
Great. Are you going to be a Republican now?
They are, but the pardon is clear evidence that crimes have been committed.
No.
I imagine if you decide to issue these preemptive pardons, it will be cast in a way that he is protecting his family and protecting their reputations from, you know, villainous exterior forces that are against him.
First off, we should just take a deep breath and acknowledge the audacity of a president who's so clearly concerned about his own criminal culpability and that of his
family. Gotta love the internet.
Pardons are a major obsession with him.
It lives forever.
The idea of a kind
it lives forever.
This sort of permanent federal get out of jail free card. That seems to be what we're talking about in the case of this, right? With Giuliani and his 3 eldest children who, as far as we know, have not been convicted of a crime. Maybe they've committed a lot and they don't want to face action. I don't know. It's weird. I wouldn't ask for a pardon. I don't think I deserve one because I don't think I've done anything criminal. But like, where does that come from? That concept that you can just kind of wave your magic pardon wand.
We have Tish James. We have Xavier Becerra. Mimi Roca is literally my DA in my town. There will be opportunities to prosecute these people regardless if they abuse the pardon power as they are thinking.
Oh.
Hopefully, Ellie, there will be a skyfall on this entire crime family, and there will be another day for them to die.
The president does indeed pardon, let's say, Rudy Giuliani or any members of his family. Would you see that, and I asked Preet Bharara this question, as essentially an admission of guilt?
Oh, I certainly would view it that way. I think millions of Americans would view it that way.
Yes,
if there was no belief in criminality, why would he think a pardon was necessary?
CNN has learned President Biden will pardon his son Hunter Biden.
Wow.
Yeah, that's actually pretty powerful.
Yeah, and I pulled this. Man, I thought I saved it, and I don't see it. Hang on, let's see. Oh yeah, here it is. Let me show you this. There you go. There it is. Pardons by U.S. president.
Wow.
Goodness.
Insane.
Insane.
Well, the most corrupt regime ever needs the most pardon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow.
I mean, and Biden didn't issue the pardons for his family until 15 minutes before
Wow.
the inauguration.
Yep.
Out the back.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And the American people saw through it. You know, my wife was saying this is, she even said, she goes, why? She goes, you know, he pardoned her brother and all these family members. And she said, if I was there, I'd be like, why are you pardoning me? I haven't done anything.
Unfortunately,
like,
I think that he used different family members to deposit certain amounts of money.
Yeah.
Oh,
especially his brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
no, I knew the brother. Yeah.
different accounts to launder and to deposit money into their accounts. Yeah.
Interesting. Yes, that makes sense. I will tell you this, and he is the most corrupt president that I have seen, not just in my lifetime, but I think ever in the history of the United States.
Yeah.
Well, what did you think about Mike Johnson kind of spilling the beans, like meeting with Biden and saying, hey, look, you signed this thing, it's killing us. And Biden's like, I didn't sign that. And he goes, no, really, you did. And he's like, no, I didn't. You don't understand. What I signed was this, that, and the other. I don't know if I have it. And that was when Mike Johnson realized, like, you're not in charge. Like, these other people around you are running you. I mean, like a fool that you are. Yeah. And so that was just really sad.
Yeah. In fact, somebody said that maybe that they're not even sure that the last 2 years of his presidency that he knew what he was signing and doing, which, you know, we've kind of known that there's been people in the background, but this is the first time this has actually come out, and it's absolutely, it's true. I mean, you can just see it in his senility and everything. Somebody was doing that, was pulling the strings.
Yeah.
It was the globalists.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. It was, as they said, you know, when Obama came in, he looked very upset because now his third term is over. And it's true.
Now, about Fauci's pardon, they actually went back and he did the same thing. Biden did the same thing for Fauci that he did for his son, Hunter. And he went back and pardoned him all the way back to 2014.
Yes.
When the Obama administration went in and set up the biolabs on the Ukraine-Russian border.
Yep.
So let's talk about that, because, and Liz Cheney and the Jan 6 committee, all these folks have been pardoned. But Denise and I have been talking about that, and Denise, you were talking about, yeah, they can be, they still have to be investigated, though. They have to testify. And now that they can't really even plead the fifth.
Well, others can be investigated, but these people can be called to testify. And because they're not in danger of going to jail, they cannot use the Fifth Amendment. They are compelled to give testimony. So,
and absolutely, the truth needs to come out, regardless of what happens to them. The truth needs to come out so that we all can see it, and so that this will, you know, the next time this happens, we're like, oh yeah, we've already been down that road. I absolutely agree that even though that's happened, Cash and Tulsi and whoever needs to get in there and keep this going, because the truth needs to come out.
I hope so. And I hope they do that. And I know that we don't want to weaponize government. At the same time, people need to know the truth.
Yeah, this isn't weaponized. Pursuing righteousness is not weaponization. Justice. But they know that's, so you have to stop being a pragmatist at some point. You have to stop caring about how things are going to look. You just do the right thing, period. And that's the one thing I don't care about Trump. He just seems to be a pragmatist. And, you know, just act on principle. Don't care. Pursue righteousness. You go after these people because they've committed crimes. And they're masters at this, because notice how they always accuse us of the very things that they're doing, so that when we respond back to them and justly try and persecute them, then they can just say, oh, look, it's just tit for tat. And they're masters at this. And you have to break that cycle by going after them, pursuing them, and arresting them, so that they know that propaganda won't work with us anymore.
Right, exactly.
We're done being tired of thinking what you're going to say about us in the news. We're just going to do what's right.
Well, and that's the thing, is that we understand that that is righteousness, going after the truth. But you know, the left, the deep state, whatever, that's exactly what they're going to call it, is lawfare. Oh, well, Trump's doing the same thing as Biden did and all that.
Yeah, it's just tit for
because
tat.
They don't understand. Right?
This
That's
is
right.
And it goes after the normie who doesn't know much about any of this, and they can play off of it. Oh, look, it's just typical politics. They went after them, so now they're going after them.
Yep.
You know, and that's how this is spun. But you break that cycle by just doing the righteous thing and showing we're actually going to be able to put people in jail because they actually broke laws. Going after Trump, they couldn't put him in jail because he broke no laws.
Well, that was the other thing, you know, kind of watching his inauguration and everything. I thought about it, and they have gone into the deepest recesses, to the cracks of his closet, and could not find anything.
Literally.
I mean, they went deeper than any other president has gone. I mean, you know, they supposedly went deep into Clinton's closet. No way. Trump has been under a microscope and they still couldn't find anything. And I'm not saying that he's this righteous dude, that he's the best president we've ever had. All I'm saying is that he has lived at least a clean life from the standpoint of when you look at people in power like that. He's probably one of the cleanest that we've ever had.
Right.
Kash Patel going to release the JFK assassination tapes. We talked about it a little bit, but what are we really going to see? What do you guys really think? Do you think it's going to get to the level that we're going to see Mossad involvement? And have you seen the video of, let's play that, because I saw this and it really rocked my world, to be honest with you. I had heard that one of the drivers of the limousine turned around and shot Kennedy, but I hadn't actually seen the video. So here's the video. Let me see if I can find it here real quick.
Heard of some.
Let me see it. Oh, I want to play that Stu Peters thing too. Oh, here it is. Let me pull it up.
I read while I was in naval intelligence. It concerned the Central. Cooper, thanks for being with us today. Let's talk about the JFK assassination. CIA plot? Well, from the top secret documents that I read while I was in naval intelligence, it concerned the Central Intelligence Agency, the Secret Service, Division 5 of the FBI, and the Office of Naval Intelligence, and that's why I was able to view these documents.
Now, why would the CIA and the security community want to kill the president?
From what I understand and from what I read, Bob, they viewed President Kennedy as a security threat. And I'm not sure exactly what that means.
I do.
But the documentation clearly said that the assassin was the driver in the car in which he was riding in Dallas on that day, and it was plainly visible in a film withheld from the public.
Now, you brought that film with you. Let's take a look at that if we can. Here's the film. Go ahead and narrate this for us, will you?
Well, it took me 16 years to find this film because it has really been withheld. And what you're seeing here is the motorcade on Elm Street passing in front of the book depository building. Kennedy has been shot in the throat, and Jacqueline is pulling him toward her, trying to comfort him, and she's in shock. At this time, you see the driver turn around with a pistol in his left hand, firing over his right shoulder, and shoots the president directly in the head.
Here's a repeat of it, yeah.
The weapon, watch the driver, his name is William Greer. He was, in fact, a Secret Service agent. The weapon is an electrically operated, gas-powered assassination pistol built especially for the Central Intelligence Agency.
You don't see any puff of smoke from...
That's correct.
Because what you think is a pistol there in the right-hand corner, lower right-hand corner.
That's correct. It is.
Why is that?
Well, it's an air-operated pistol. It's pneumatic. And it actually fired an exploding pellet, which injected shellfish toxin into the president's brain, so that if the actual explosion of the pellet itself did not kill him, the toxin would.
Now, did you read all of this
Yes.
in the documents?
Yes, and that's why his brain was switched for another brain in transit between Parkland Hospital in Dallas and Bethesda Naval Hospital in Washington, D.C.
Now, what about Oswald?
Oswald was a patsy. We have a photograph of him actually standing in front of the book depository building in the doorway, watching the motorcade as it goes by. That is Lee Harvey Oswald there.
So here's my question. Why didn't she see that and realize that? Because she's right there.
Yeah, that's a question I had as well. And there seemed to be two people in the back seat right in front of them.
Yeah, and those people would have said, okay.
Well, maybe or maybe not. I mean, because if they're willing to kill the president right in front of you, it's pretty much like you better shut up or you're dead too.
Well,
so it's possible, but when I do believe that they killed Kennedy and they justified it as a security threat to
who? Absolutely, yes,
security threat to the people who had been running our government. The Mossad, the Rothschilds, the globalists. He was a security threat to them. He was a security threat to LBJ. In fact, Kennedy was investigating LBJ. They installed LBJ the same way they put Bush in with Reagan. They said, look, you've got to unite the party. And if you guys come together, we'll win for sure. That's how they pulled it over on Reagan. And that's what they did with Kennedy. Kennedy didn't want LBJ as his vice president. Yeah. And so he was.
Well, and George Bush was the head of the CIA at the time, right?
I know, yeah.
So, and they asked, I saw it on X, they said it was like he couldn't tell you where he was during that day or what was going on or anything. He was very secretive about all that throughout his whole life. He never talked about it.
Yeah, well, LBJ was a horrible person. He was.
He
was running guns to Israel. He was doing all kinds of illegal dealings in Texas. He was rigging his own election and other elections. I mean, the guy was just a nasty dude. Yeah. And the Mossad was kind of backing him. And as soon as he got in, again, he was all pro-Israel when Kennedy was trying to make him sign as a foreign agent. So that'll be interesting. I don't really know what's going to come out when they declassify that, but obviously they think something is pretty powerful there, or Kash Patel wouldn't be going after it.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
And Trump did say, he told one of his lawyer friends, who's the guy that has the hairline that comes down to his eyebrows, Judge whatever. Napolitano. He told him, he said, Mr. President, you promised us you were going to declassify these. And he said, if you saw what I saw, you wouldn't do it either. And so I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but
we'll see. We will see.
Yeah.
Enough time they're going to do it. They did it in World War II with Pearl Harbor. I mean, all of that's declassified now. I mean, there's been now 3 books written on it. Of what happened. It was a setup to get us into the war. And I think eventually it'll come out. I hope Kash does it. He said he would. I think we've got a administration that when they say something, they're going to do it. So we'll see.
Yeah. I've got one more video I want to show you. This is Stu Peters sending an investigative reporter to Washington. And I want you to pay attention to what he asks everybody. Even my own Tim Burchett does not answer the question, which was disappointing. That's
as a member of Congress.
Hang on.
Thank you. So I've heard that anti-Semitism is on the rise on X and across various social media platforms as a result of right-wing internet influencers propagating a conspiracy theory claiming that the American government is occupied and controlled by Israel. Is it really a conspiracy theory?
Congressman, my name's Frankie Stocks. I'm a reporter with the Stu Peters Network. I would just love to ask you a quick question. I'm trying to ask every representative I can. That is, do you care more about the American people or Israel as a member of Congress?
I don't think they're mutually exclusive, Frankie.
Can you elaborate?
They're our best ally.
Are they? Who do you care about more, the United States or Israel? United States or Israel, sir? No answer? Should we put you down for Israel?
300,000.
Care about more, the American people or Israel? It's an easy one. American people or Israel? You don't got to fake a phone call. American people or Israel? Who do you care about more, the American people or Israel? The American people or Israel, sir?
We got to keep it up, man. They got to keep it up.
Or Israel? No answer?
I think that Israel is one of our strongest allies in a part of the world where people are trying to harm us, and I think they need our support.
So should the U.S. continue funding Israel? Despite their links to 9/11 or their attack on the USS Liberty? Who do you care about more, the United States or Israel? Well, it's a question the American people have been asking a lot because they're starting to wake up to how much AIPAC money is flowing into the coffers of Congress.
Well, if you watch what I've done over the years since I've been here, the question about who is a strong supporter for Israel, I think it would be hard to find somebody who's more positive about it than I have. So I'm amazed sometimes at where the American people are, how they think. So this is so against everything I've ever looked here. People who raised me are accepted. So.
Well, we have American citizens who are about to freeze to death in Western North Carolina and are sending millions to Israel.
Please open up.
Well, it is a comparison because the money's going out. It's all coming from the same people. It's coming from the taxpayers, sir. Who do you care about more, the American people or Israel? American people or Israel, sir? Sir, they're equal? Are you serving Israel or are you serving America?
I stand with Israel.
Okay, so can you answer the original question? Who do you care about more, U.S. or Israel?
There's no variance. It's like you asking, do you love your wife more than your daughter?
Well,
and you said it was a simple question.
It is.
You love your wife more than your daughter.
I love the United States more than I love Israel. It's a very simple question.
Great love, and you as a human being, you express that love, and you have core principles that drive you to your love for your wife and your love for your daughter. It's two different loves, but neither of them is greater than the other. You understand?
Who's the priority when you're casting a vote in Congress, America or Israel? It's a very simple question. You're not answering it, Representative. Who do you care about more, the American people or Israel? American people or Israel, sir? Who do you care about more, the American people or Israel? No answer? Who do you care about more, the American people or Israel?
It's funny. The ones that aren't answering don't really get a lot of money. So maybe that's why they're not answering, because they're like, I want some more money. I'm not going to touch that.
There's only one guy. There's only one guy that answers.
More, the American people or Israel? Well, who do you care about more? American people or Israel, sir? Who do you care about more, the American people or Israel?
I don't like that.
American people or Israel, sir? Is it so hard to say you care about the American people who you're here to serve? The American people believe that Israel holds disproportionate influence over our own government, thanks to organizations like AIPAC, who are pumping millions of dollars into American politics, promoting Israel First policy. So,
but if you want to share this information, you're doing a great job.
It's not misinformation. We have the campaign finance report, sir. It's not misinformation. Do you care more about the American people or about Israel?
Where are you from?
The Stu Peters Network. The Stu Peters Show just released a film called Occupied on this very subject, which I highly recommend to look up. But can you answer the question, sir? Do you care more about the American people or about Israel?
I'm an American. I care more about the American.
You care more about the American people? Right, but should Americans take priority over Israel? We know AIPAC's pumping hundreds of thousands of dollars into congressional candidates. They're obviously getting some sway there. Should AIPAC register as a foreign agent?
Good question. Don't they already?
No.
Don't they already? Wow, he didn't even know. Wow.
Yes, sir.
See, he's old enough to know that Kennedy got shot for something like that.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Stu Peters Network, Frankie Stocks. We're asking the questions that the American people want answered by their representatives.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
86 pounds.
Congressman.
This is it.
Quick
This
second.
is
I'm Frankie Stocks with the Stu Peters Network. Trying to ask all members I can this question. Very simple. Who do you care about more, the American people or Israel? American people. You are the first to have given me that answer, sir. Thank you. Yep. American people. Number one, man.
So I'm assuming they looked it up. He doesn't take any money?
I don't know. I guess not. But isn't that sad? And that he was walking with Tim Burchett, and that's the guy that I met with on this very issue. Gave him 2 copies of my book. So that's amazing. That is amazing that they just can't say, "Oh, I serve the American public." Israel,
right.
All they have to say is, "No, America is our priority, but Israel is an ally."
Right.
Or you know, and I don't even think that's justified, but you could think that at the very least, they could say that. But no, they're scared to death.
Yeah. Well, and so a few, and they were like, "No, look, that one guy, the daughter, my wife." That is
what
ridiculous.
A horrible analogy.
Yeah, I mean, horrible. But you notice that the ones that got the less money, they just didn't touch it because they're like, "Look, I only got 28,000 last time. I'm looking to get into the $100,000." I'm not going to say nothing because I want 100 grand next year.
Well, yeah, that was a little disconcerting to say the least. But
yes,
that is getting rid of the Federal Reserve, which is Rothschild, which is AIPAC. I mean, these people have their tentacles everywhere in our government, every agency. And so when you're talking about draining the swamp, that's who we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, Lord willing, Trump understands that.
I think the more you look at all these conspiracies that are coming out and the JFK murders and the JFK murder, and you see these things, it's pulling the veil back on what even myself didn't really understand, and at one point didn't really want to accept. Not that I cared about, Israel in the sense, because I've known for a long time that they're not God's chosen people, but that one country could have that much control over a sovereign nation, quote unquote sovereign. You know what I mean?
The Rothschilds knew all along. The country, the family, the person that controls the money controls all nations, controls everything.
Yeah, that's why they went into international banking. Once they found that it worked with one country, why not do more and more and more? Now they're the central bank of every central bank.
Yeah. But that does bring up an interesting point. What about Trump's External Revenue Service that he talked about today in his inauguration? He's going to set up not an internal revenue service, but an external revenue service to bring in all of these tariffs. And
in other words, making money the way we should be making money off of other governments and people, not extracting it and extorting from its own citizens.
And does that lead to getting rid of the IRS
and the Federal Reserve?
And by definition, the Federal Reserve.
So, yeah, the Federal Reserve, definitely not, because the dollar is the #1 world currency. There is no way that's going to happen in probably your great grandchild's time. It's just not. I think crypto is going to change how money works, and I think eventually we will get to the point where, with technology and money, that you won't have a world currency, but we won't see that. And I don't think our grandchildren will see it. I don't think our great grandchildren will see that. We will get there. And I think crypto is the first step into that. So the Federal Reserve is going to be around. Now, does the IRS stay around? Maybe he can get the ball rolling to at least maybe not get rid of the IRS, but maybe begin the progress of getting rid of the federal income tax.
Right. But we all know that the IRS is unconstitutional.
Well,
Yes.
after the Federal Reserve.
So
yeah, the Federal Reserve, but the Federal Reserve got around that because it's not a government institution. I mean,
right.
And all the banks were behind it, and they set it all up so that it wouldn't be. The IRS is a government institution that can be gotten rid of very easily with Congress. It's not going to happen in probably our lifetime, but maybe again, I think Trump's going to get the ball rolling on getting rid of these taxes. People just on X, and I talk to, it's not that that a lot of people have always accepted taxes. We don't pay taxes. They take taxes. We've never paid taxes. Since the federal income tax was created, we don't pay them. They take it. And by the way, Milton, who was, what was his name?
Friedman.
Milton Friedman, who was a quote unquote free market economist, was the one that helped the federal government come up with the income tax of how they take it out of your check automatically. Which, look, he said all the right things. He had all the right, but the reality was Milton Friedman was no, free economist from that standpoint, because he helped the federal government figure out how to take it out of your check. But I think this 4 years can kind of help get that ball rolling. I think people are realizing, you know what? More and more I see posts. Why are you taking taxes from us when all you got to do is print the money?
Right. Well, isn't income tax voluntary?
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, if you look at Peter Schiff is a free market economist, though I think he's a gold bug to a fault, because he doesn't even consider Bitcoin, and he should. But he's a great. He believes in Mises. He understands free markets, and his father tried that, and his father spent the better part of his older life in prison and died in prison because of that.
What, trying to not pay income tax?
That's right, saying that it was voluntary. There are a few, you can look them up. There are a few people that have gotten away with it, but don't try it. No one, hardly anybody gets away with it. They try to go to court on that stance that it's voluntary, and the same way that the one guy told me that your tags on your car is voluntary. You don't want to try it. You'll lose. 99.9% of the time you're going to lose. Maybe that 0.1% get away with it, but it's not going to happen. You're not going to be the 0.1% that gets away with it. So what we have to do is we have to show the insidiousness of taxes on production. I am from the standpoint we get rid of all taxes. Tariffs, yes, before the federal income tax, that's how the American government was funded, but the American government was very small, very, very small. They didn't even have a military, really, at that time. Now it's so bloated and the Leviathan's so big, you can't rein it in. So what you have to do is take pieces, and you have to say, okay, let's show that taxes on production are bad. Let's at least start there. Okay, fine. Let's be okay with taxes on consumption. Taxes on consumption are okay, because at the end of the day, I don't have to consume, other than, and the federal government doesn't take taxes on food, but your state does. Those type of things have to be addressed at the state level. But consumption tax, fine. Tax me on consumption. Don't tax me on productivity and production. And I think Trump fully understands that. You can hear him when he talks about taxes. That's what he understands, because he's paid a ton of taxes over the years, and being a very successful person, he understands and Elon does as well.
Reagan did too, and Reagan was awesome on taxes.
Yeah, and Reagan did too. And that's what we have to overcome is your normie that thinks taxes pay for roads and all that. They have to realize that productive taxes are bad.
Mm-hmm. I think Trump is getting there, especially with the no tax on overtime pay, which kills overtime pay. I mean, you end up working for free.
No tax on Social Security checks.
Right.
Right.
No tax on tips. You know, he's getting there. So
yeah, and I think I think the ball's rolling. I think again the internet and X especially has kind of pulled the cover back. You're just your normal person has begun to say, you know what? Because I remember 10 years ago, I'd had arguments over, well, we need taxes because who's going to build the roads? You know, that was the big thing. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. But I think we've overcome that. And I think more and more people are beginning to realize that, I mean, you've got your normies going, well, if they can just print all the money, why are they taxing us? That is a good question. So now let's break this down and understand why taxing you on being productive is a bad thing. Why capital gains is a bad thing, capital gains tax. And get over this envious thing. You know, people, a lot of it is driven by envy.
Right. Right.
You know, and I think Musk is realizing it, which is great. He had to run through the gauntlet to be run through the gauntlet to realize it, but I think he is. And I think just more and more people at the lower income levels need to realize it as well. And I think they will. People are also beginning to see how bad where money actually comes from. You know, again, even 5 years ago when I talked about, you know, well, this whole inflation thing comes from the fact of printing money, and the Federal Reserve owns that right. That's what happens. And people are like, what are you talking about? That has nothing to do with it. It has to do with, these evil corporations raising the price or, energy being too expensive, which energy has a fraction of causing inflation. And I think, Trump's going to do what he can for, he says, drill, drill, drill. Great. Let's do it. And I think it will bring down the cost of things a little bit. But at the end of the day, we are at this precipice with inflation because of all the mailbox money that he started and that Biden definitely finished. Energy is going to help. But the whole mandate of the Federal Reserve was to keep it at 2%. That's a pipe dream. That's never going to happen. They can't now. So what are they going to do? Keep it at 3? Keep it at 2.5? I mean, it's just so. Anyway, I think your normal person is beginning to realize these things, especially when Trump's going to drill, and it's really not going to affect the price much of groceries or anything else.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're a little bit past an hour, so any closing thoughts?
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay.
But it was good to see you guys. Man, it's I hold out hope for the next 4 years. I think today, watching the inauguration and then all this pomp and circumstance is what it is. But at the end of the day, I think we've got someone that can be more honest than any other president we've seen in a long time.
Yes.
Yep.
So
we'll see how it plays out.
Yep.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us.
Denise, Mike, good to see you guys.